Let's talk about the Trump state visit to the UK. We're currently on the second full day of the visit. I mean, I'd say it's probably going well as far as the ceremony is concerned, but there are some quite big issues that the US and the UK disagree on, and everything from free speech to Gaza to fossil fuels and energy. Tom, what have you made of it?
It's been interesting, hasn't it? I was down in Windsor on the first day of the visit. Utterly coordinated.
Yeah.
So choreographed. Nothing could go wrong. Nothing could go out of place. The people had been rehearsing the sort of big armed forces display there, the state banquet, all of it, written beforehand, pitch perfect. Nothing could go wrong. And again, on the second day in the morning, in Chequers, choreographed, right? You had going around seeing the Churchill archives at Chequers, having a business sort of lunch, signing a deal that had obviously been pre-agreed. Nothing could possibly go wrong. All coordinated until you get to the press conference.
The moment we were waiting for.
Right. And that is the point where there can't be control, because you've got the American press pack, you've got the British press pack, and you've got an American president who loves taking questions.
Yeah.
It's no 1-2, 1-2 done, as you sometimes see, as you saw with Emmanuel Macron, for instance. No. Trump took question after question after question. He clearly loves it.
That's definitely his format. And it was interesting because, generally speaking, at least if you look at a lot of the, I don't want to say sympathetic media, because many of them have a cast iron responsibility towards impartiality, supposedly. But there was a kind of sense that Starmer got out of it intact. But at the same time, there were clear points of disagreement. I mean, we were talking about this just before we started recording, Tom. But the point in which Starmer condemns Hamas and gets a clap on the back from Trump for doing so, as if like, well done. It was kind of interesting, and it indicated the gap between them on the question of the recognition of a Palestinian state, what have you. His call for drill baby drill to exploit the resources in Trump's beloved Scotland was very telling. The question of free speech bubbled up. The Mandelson thing, obviously Trump threw Starmer a bone by kind of pretending not to know who Peter Mandelson was, even though they were pictured together in the Oval Office not even a couple of months ago, at which Trump, fulsomely praised Mandelson's accent.
So he was very handsome as well.
There were elements in which obviously he kind of got out of it in one piece. But at the same time, it's a reminder of how shaky this relationship is, to say the least. And, maybe it is just Keir Starmer's sheer powers of, I don't know, arse kissing or something that's worse. Or, it's
not charisma, is it?
The sheer beauty of his voice.
But I do think there is something deeper that is, Donald Trump is genuinely a pro-British president.
Yeah, that's true.
He sees himself as ethnically British. He talked about that in his banquet speech on the first night. He kept saying, and actually in a way that I think no American president really has done before, at least not that I'm aware of, praising the British Empire for establishing sort of the structures of rights, of individual liberty, of what we all enjoy, frankly, what all of the wealthy countries in the world today enjoy.
Yeah.
And he had this sort of refrain about everywhere that once flew a British flag, the institutions that were built up underneath that flag, not least in a little place called the United States of America, are those foundational rights and liberties that we enjoy today. And the fact that a fifth of the world speaks this language, thinks in this language, dreams in this language, prays in this language, he clearly was trying to get out some sort of essence about the United Kingdom as a sort of mother nation for the English-speaking peoples around the world. I thought that was quite a powerful bond. I mean, he doesn't speak like that about America's long and historic ties with France, for instance, of which there are many.
Yeah.
But it's not that sense of romance that is so deep and meaningful.
And I think that probably goes some way to explain as well why many Americans are so horrified by the free speech situation in Britain, which is equally bad, let's face it, on the continent. We should talk a little bit about the anti-Trump protests. I think fair to say a little bit smaller than last time, a little bit wetter. Tom Slater, what have you made of it?
No, I thought it was interesting that this call to arms was put out by the Stop Trump coalition, who kind of dusted off the placards from last time. He had the state visit. the language is it's still pretty apocalyptic. I think it's fair to say. I mean, they're essentially accusing him. There was this video fronted by Zoe Gardner, everyone's favourite immigration researcher, the other week, talking about that he's basically fanning the flames of fascism on either sides of the pond in order to you could see what a fever dream that was, but in this little video they had to demonstrate how fascistic Britain was becoming by a series of fake news reports in which there was like this kind of British paramilitary force that was disappearing migrants. So like in order to illustrate what they were saying, they had to fabricate news reports, which I think tells you something about what kind of parallel universe these people tend to.
And of course, the reality in this country is that we've spent the last 4 days trying to deport at least one individual. I think we've managed one, but it took 4 days and about 6 failures.
It reminded me, it was like this when he had the last state visit at the point when David Lammy was leading the protests. He's now wouldn't dare go near that platform. But it's this has the texture of a temper tantrum, to be perfectly frank. First of all, it's like as if this will achieve anything. It's not going to step down because a few thousand Corbynists show up. But it's also the sense in which there is this is, I think the reason they have to reach for the script of anti-fascism and revolt and whatever is because it allows them to pretend that they're not just raging against a democratically elected president, that they're not just raging against the people, that this is obviously part and parcel of a kind of transatlantic culture war against populism and the kinds of voters they think are voting for these particular parties. There's a petulance to it. In that video that they put out, there was one particular line which is along the lines of, in 2017 we protested against him and we thought if we shouted loud enough he would go away. And it was this kind, it was like it's kind of Veruca Salt masquerading as Rosa Luxemburg, that they're kind of engaging. I
wonder if it also speaks to the idea that actually we are so Anglo-centric, and I mean that not just as this country, but we care so much more about what goes on in America than countries on our doorstep. I mean, we don't think of ourselves as European. Giorgia Meloni has about the same immigration policy as Donald Trump. When Giorgia Meloni comes to London, are there any protests at all? I mean, no, there really aren't. I mean, when she was elected in her new party in Italy, did anyone sort of do, because she had pretty strong policies to stop the boats across the Mediterranean. But did you get videos being made on British social media? Did anyone follow the... No, I think people feel so much more attached to the Anglosphere in general than any European country. And yet these are the same people who will walk out with a beret and say that we should rejoin a political union with countries that they clearly don't give a fig about.
Yeah, I remember, realising that whenever you'd talk to people on the sort of Stop Brexit marches and you'd ask them about what's going on in Europe. I mean, there was a time when there was a big Remain march, and it was exactly the same time as one of the big Gilets Jaunes marches, and they'd never heard of the Yellow Vest at all. So, they have no idea what's going on.
They'll know a lot more about America. They'll watch the American debates. I think I'm probably the only person in the country who watched the Spitzenkandidaten debates for the European Commission president.
Well, I bit of a waste of time since it doesn't actually decide.
Right, that is so true, so true.
The Remainers in particular continue to talk of Europe as if it's like a haven from populism. It's like, do you know what's going on in Europe at the moment? You could be in a situation where you've got maybe not a President Le Pen because she's been legally barred from doing so, but certainly the front, the old Front National do very well. You look at what's going on in Germany, who's in power in Italy. You think it just shows that if there are any low information voters in that discussion, it's them, 100%.
And I would say every single person that I spoke to yesterday at the Trump rally, without fail, said that Trump was a fascist. I don't think there was without qualification. Without any, that was quite eye-opening.
Do you think one of the reasons why it was a bit smaller is that the Labour Party almost hasn't given permission for it? Last time round, you had people like David Lammy, now the Deputy Prime Minister, going out and about saying those same things.
He said he would chain himself to Downing Street, which he didn't do, so he needs to be called out on that.
Amazing. It's like all those people saying they'll move to Canada and they never do. Clearly, what you've had is a party that was very happy to bang the anti-Trump drum when it was politically convenient for them, and clearly they can make political capital out of that. They find themselves in power and they realise, actually, that is a terrible geopolitical thing to do. I mean, you've got a president who is predisposed towards this country, who is waging economic war against lots of parts of the world. Do you really want to go and poke the bear? I mean, is that really your strategy? And so I think really a lot of people have suddenly thought, oh, maybe the first state visit wasn't a bad idea after all. Maybe people have, maybe I'm being too optimistic here. Have people rethought their own actions 6 or 7 years ago?
I think maybe it's just, they're in the government, so they're forced to grow up, whether they'd like to or not. But I mean, the closest thing I think we've seen this time was there was an SNP MSP who tweeted that said that no one should go to this state banquet. You know, if you go to Trump's banquet, you're endorsing genocide. Quickly deleted the tweet when he realised that the SNP leader was there.
Amazing.
Perils of governing.